Edgar Cayce saw it coming. Three-eyed Atlas is Earth's final test in 2025. The stars incline us, they do not bind us. William Shakespeare. The journey of wisdom is where forgotten visions and cosmic signs reveal the soul of our time. Here, we explore the sky not as a cold expanse, but as a sacred manuscript, one read by sages, prophets, and seers across the centuries, so that their insights may guide us through the storms of today. Our purpose isn't to alarm, it's to awaken. Through the lens of prophecy and planetary alignments, we seek not fear, but understanding, not prediction, but preparation. Each celestial event is an invitation, a reflection of humanity's inner state, and a challenge to rise to a higher path. This episode draws from the profound legacy of Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, and turns our gaze to a mysterious visitor from the edge of the solar system, Comet 3I divided by Atlas. In the dance between vision and orbit, a deeper question emerges, not, is this the end? But, what does this moment ask of us, and who must we become to meet it? Number 1. Edgar Cayce and 3I divided by Atlas, the celestial visitor. Edgar Cayce, often called the sleeping prophet, is a figure who seems to bridge two worlds, the daylight world of science, reason, and what we can see, and a quieter realm of dreams, soul, and inner knowing. He did more than just sleep. He entered light trances, mysterious states between wakefulness and sleep, in which he gave thousands of readings. These readings range widely: practical advice about health and healing, guidance about balancing body, mind, and spirit, recollections of past lives, subtle details of the inner self, and sweeping visions about the future of humanity and what may yet become of the world. Whether you set aside belief or embrace his readings as prophetic in the mystical sense, whether you understand them psychologically or spiritually, what persists through them is a coherent thread. The idea that the outer world, especially the skies overhead, the movements of celestial bodies, the heavens, reflects the inner state of the human spirit. Cayce pointed repeatedly to the sky as a stage for spiritual signals. He expressed this not in alarmist tones or in fixed timelines, but in moral and ethical ones, with urgency. Signs in the heavens shall precede the awakening of man. This is not simply about predicting when catastrophes will happen or reading calendars of doom. Instead, it is about awakening responsibility and possibility. A warning only has meaning if heard. A promise only holds power if lived. In Cayce's view, prophecy is not a chain dragging us toward fate, but rather a mirror reflecting what we have already set in motion, a clarion call asking us to choose differently, to rise, and to act with greater integrity and with more heart. Cayce taught us to consider celestial bodies, planets, stars, comets, not simply as balls of matter moving along physical trajectories governed by physics, but as symbols, as living language. He invites us to understand that the matter in motion is also meaning in motion. A comet is not just ice and rock. Its dance across darkness carries message. Its tail is not simply debris stirred by solar wind. It is a river of record trailing through time. Its brightening head is not just sunlight reflecting off frozen vapor. It is the soul ignited by proximity to something greater. Through this lens, the heavens become not remote or impersonal but intimate. They are scripture in stars, and every orbit, every flash, every subtle shift is an expression of the soul of things. To read that language, Cayce seems to say, is not to deny or replace physics, but to see physics as only one register of reality, alongside meaning, purpose, inner movement. What we inherit from Cayce, then, is this interpretive frame. The cosmos is mirror, scripture, invitation. Mirror because what we see above often reflects what is within. Scripture because the universe speaks, gradually, symbolically, not always in loud proclamations but often in whispering rhythms. invitation because prophecy is not rigid but opens possibilities. Through this frame, when something appears in our skies, a visitor, a comet, a planet out of its usual course, it is not merely an object to be measured, photographed, plotted. It is a message to be understood, a question whispered to us, not simply what will happen, but who will we become. It's in that question, who we become, that the real work, the real awakening, is discovered. As we approach the year 2025, the narrative shifts, and a figure emerges in the sky that draws together Cayce's symbolic language and our present moment. This is 3I divided by Atlas. We give it that name not because we fully understand its chemistry or its physical structure yet, but because of how it feels, like it looks back, not just with one eye of light or one eye of presence, but with three, one perhaps rooted in the old memory, one in the burning core, another trailing behind in record. It is a visitor in the cosmic sense, a body that is not simply star nor planet, more than a routine comet, something that seems to have drifted in from beyond familiar orbits. In 2025, Atlas is part science, part symbol, part mirror. From the scientific vantage, 3I divided by Atlas can be described as many comets are, composed of frozen water, dust, other icy compounds. As it moves, the heat from the sun causes parts of it to vaporize, forming a thin atmosphere, a coma, perhaps shedding a tail of gas and dust pushed back by solar winds or radiation. Its path, its trajectory, can be plotted, its brightness can be modeled, observatories can collect data. All that is concrete, verifiable, and immensely valuable, because without such measurements, we would not even know where to look. For astronomers and astrophysicists, these are sufficient and essential features: nucleus, orbit, tail, luminosity. Yet prophecies and spiritual traditions like Cayce's ask us to see more, not to replace the science, but to hold both what it is and what it asks of us. Prophetically, Atlas becomes a messenger, not because it speaks in our languages, but because it mirrors. Passing through our skies like a mirror to the human heart, it does not judge our politics or our economics. It reflects our interior state, our intentions, capacity for compassion, degree of solidarity, levels of fear or trust, pride or humility. Atlas holds up a mirror to what we are being right now, divided or united, fearful or hopeful, narrow-minded or open-hearted. Its journey doesn't force a fate upon us. Instead, seeing it, we confront ourselves, what choices we are making, how we are living toward or away from light. Nothing about this mirror coerces, it reveals. The meaning of Atlas, the message it brings, is inseparable from the choices we make, whether we respond with fear, with division, with belief in scarcity, or whether we choose trust, solidarity, humility, generosity. The telescope, the observatory, the scientific instrument, those tell us what Atlas Island, but our openness, our inner posture, those answer what Atlas is asking of us. Together, physics and prophecy complete a more holistic picture, one that allows us to see not just the skies, but our own hearts. Reading them together invites a sober hope, a posture of readiness, not to cower, but to engage, not to despair, but to choose. As we look more closely at Atlas, its frozen body, its nucleus that glows, its tail streaming behind it becomes less about cataloging features and more about speaking a vocabulary through which creation addresses human longing. What is in the icy body? What is in the glowing nucleus? What is trailing behind in the tail? Each element is part of a grammar, a message the cosmos seems to be offering us as 2025 moves into view. In Edgar Cayce's way of speaking, the heavens do not only show phenomena, they speak in symbols. These symbols are not optional decoration, they are essential. They allow us to read meaning in what might otherwise feel distant, scientific, detached. 3 I divided by Atlas can thus be read as a three-part parable, matter carrying meaning without denying the physics that describes it. These three parts, when joined together, form a moral grammar, a guide for inner awakening and outer action. They are memory preserved, soul ignited, book of record. More than metaphors, they serve as living lenses through which we can see what matters most in this time. 1. The icy body memory preserved. The frozen, inert portion of Atlas is like an archive, a memory held in deep cold, preserving what has been gathered across ages. This includes not only physical particles of dust and ice that the comet carries, but symbolically includes all that we have carried within us: memories, past choices, regrets, patterns, unhealed wounds. What we refuse to face hardens. What we deny continues traveling with us invisibly. Individually, this might be memories of times we hurt others, times we compromised, times we remained silent when we should have spoken. Collectively, it might be inherited traumas, injustices, environmental degradation, systems of oppression. To read that frozen body of Atlas is to remember honestly, not to relive guilt, but to reclaim what was forgotten or suppressed so it can be transformed rather than repeated. This remembering is not passive, it is an act of courage. It asks us to shine light on what lies beneath our defenses. When we do that, when we accept those parts of our past, we align with the possibility of healing and integrity. 2. The glowing nucleus soul ignited. As Atlas nears the sun, as heat and light increase, portions of the frozen body awaken, ice sublimates, gas glows, matter transforms under the influence of higher energy. In Cayce's language, this is the soul coming alive. The core that once felt distant, cold, inactive, begins to burn clear. Ethically and spiritually, this is available to every one of us, not only those already deeply religious, not only mystics, but people walking everyday paths. Through humility, compassion, sincerity, truth-telling, proximity to sources of light, inner virtues, connection to others, love, justice kindles what we might have thought inert. The nucleus asks not, "How much do you know?" but, "What are you drawing close to? What practices, what relationships, what values do you allow to warm you, to excite you, to rise above fear, entitlement, or complacency?" It is in that drawing close that the inner core begins to glow, to radiate influence. 3. The rivering tail, the book of record. Physically, a comet's tail is made of gas and dust pushed behind by solar wind or radiation pressure, a veil streaming through space, visible because of what the comet has passed through and what it has collected. Symbolically, this tail is like the book of life, an ever-growing record of intention, word, deed. Behind us trails everything we have been: the kindness, the cruelty, the integrity, the breach of trust, the generosity, the neglect. Nothing is wasted in that wake, nothing truly disappears. The ripples of our choices carry outward into families, communities, history. Even small acts shape the pattern of what follows. When we understand that our lives leave a trail, we are called not simply to think about what we do in public, but to reflect on the quiet decisions, the small mercies, the thoughts unspoken, the prayers held in private. Everything contributes to the tale, to the record. Taken together, these three images, memory preserved, soul ignited, book of record, form a moral grammar. We are called to remember, to ignite, to leave behind a wake of truth. Atlas does not force outcomes, it clarifies them. It teaches us that what we carry forward, what we become when drawn toward light, and what we leave in our wake are inseparable. And in that seamless unity, the sky is holding up a mirror to all three. As 2025 approaches, Atlas reminds us not merely that the heavens move, but that we move, and what we move toward matters. Number 2. The Test of 2025. The year 2025 is not a countdown to catastrophe, it is a date on the calendar of conscience. In Cayce's frame, 3I divided by Atlas does not deliver a fixed fate. It poses a question: what is the true condition of the human spirit? The passage itself is neutral, its meaning turns on our response. Prophecy here is formative, not punitive. It reveals where the current is carrying us, unless we choose differently. Seen this way, Atlas functions as a quiet examination rather than a verdict. It does not appraise our machines, markets, or militaries. It weighs what Cayce cared about most: intention, integrity, and prayer, the inner posture that guides outward life. Or, as the teaching condenses it, humanity is measured not by weapons or wealth, but by intentions and prayers. 2 trajectories stand in view. 1. Missed opportunity. If greed, rivalry, and violence continue to set the tone, if fear is the frequency we transmit, Atlas passes as a silent warning. The sky will not split, no trumpet will sound. The mirror simply shows we are not yet ready, and the old lessons repeat until they are learned. 2. Herald of hope. If compassion deepens, if humility tempers power, if a genuine unity rises above faction, then Atlas becomes a sign of welcome. Its passage reads as affirmation that Earth is maturing toward fellowship within a larger community of creation. Nothing magical is required, only the ordinary courage of consistent love, enacted together. Crucially, this test is continuous, not a one-night spectacle. It is written in daily choices: how we speak across differences, what we forgive, whom we protect, what we refuse to dehumanize. In that sense, the telescope that matters most in 2025 is pointed inward. The outcome does not hinge on destiny imposed from above, but on fidelity practiced below, on whether our collective vibration trends toward chaos or toward peace. Atlas sets the question. We supply the answer: one intention, one act of mercy, one reconciled relationship at a time. Number 3. Reflection and choice. 3I divided by Atlas functions as a mirror of vibration. It does not punish or reward, it reflects. If our collective frequency bends toward fear, rivalry, and contempt, the mirror shows chaos. If it leans toward patience, mercy, and courage, the mirror shows harmony. In that sense, the question is not what the comet will do, but what we are already doing, and whether we will keep doing it. In Cayce's understanding, prophecy is not a locked timetable. It is a conditional roadmap. It sketches where the current leads if nothing changes, while insisting the current can be redirected by choice. Fate here is pliable. The future is not handed down, it is participated in. That participation is granular. The scale does not tip only by grand gestures or world leaders. It moves with ordinary faithfulness: a quiet prayer for an enemy, a refusal to humiliate, an apology offered and received, a meal shared across a dividing line. These small acts are not decorative, they are causal. They add weight to the field around us, the moral weather in which we all live, and over time they change the reading of the mirror. History and scripture alike suggest that a committed minority can alter the trajectory of the many. The old image of 10 righteous rescuing a city captures the principle. A coherent few people aligned in compassion and integrity can set the tone for an era out of proportion to their number. In a world trained to count only mass and money, this is the subversive arithmetic of spirit. So the terms are simple, if demanding. We choose the frequency we broadcast. Atlas reflects it. The more of us who align with truth, mercy, and humility, the clearer the signal and the more the future bends toward peace. Number 4. Deeper meaning. Atlas is not a curse, it is an invitation. It asks us to remember what we are at our core: light with memory, participants in a living cosmos. Read this way: the sky is not foreign territory but kinship. Its signs do not condemn so much as call us back to ourselves. The real peril is not an apocalyptic end, but spiritual amnesia, forgetting that we are more than appetite, rivalry, and machinery. When we forget, we shrink the human story to what can be bought or measured. We repeat old injuries because we cannot recall who we're meant to be. Prophecy, in Cayce's frame, functions as medicine for this forgetfulness. It restores memory and reopens possibility. Each soul, then, is a lamp, and lamps matter. Every act of love, however small, throws a beam into the shared field around us. In the language of Atlas, the icy body reminds us to reclaim memory rather than let it harden. The glowing nucleus shows how nearness to the source rekindles the heart. The rivering tale records what we choose and leave in our wake. Our contribution is cumulative. A forgiveness offered, a dignity protected, a meal shared across a divide. These are not sentimental extras. They are entries in the book of life, threads in the river of memory the comet symbolizes. To accept Atlas's invitation is to live as if this is true, to remember, to return, and to radiate, so that what the mirror reflects is not our fear, but our fidelity to the light we already carry. If you've made it this far, you're clearly someone who senses there's more going on beneath the surface of our reality. Comment below with "Awake for 2025" to show you're ready to face the truth and rise above the fear. Don't click away just yet. What comes next could shift how you see the future forever. Stay with us until the end to discover what this final test truly means for humanity. What should we do right now? So what do we do with all this? What difference does the story of Cayce and Atlas make for men in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, those of us who have already carried many seasons within us, many challenges, many losses, many hopes? Number 1. Awaken your memory with courage. First, take a deep breath and awaken your memory with courage. Not just any courage, but the kind that looks inward, that's not afraid to face what's been hidden away. Right now, you're being called to remember not just with your mind, but with your heart and spirit. Maybe you've buried your regrets so deep that you've forgotten they even exist. Maybe there are fears hiding behind your busyness, or old tensions that still quietly pull at your energy. Now is the time to bring those things into the light, not to feel ashamed or stuck in them, but to acknowledge them, to finally start healing. You see, healing doesn't begin by running from the pain. It begins when you turn around and face it with your full presence. The icy visitor from deep space, the comet known as 3I divided by Atlas, isn't just an astronomical event. It's a mirror, a cosmic reminder asking each of us to revisit our past, not to be trapped by it, but to be transformed through it. Why does this matter now, in 2025? Because this moment this year is a test, not a punishment, not a threat, but a final opportunity to grow, to align, and to rise. As Edgar Cayce once said in his visions, "We are not victims of fate, we are co-creators with it." Atlas, cold and distant, reflects back our own forgotten fragments. You're being invited to recover what was once lost in the noise of survival, your purpose, your truth, your inner clarity. The comet's path is not just through space, it passes through our collective consciousness, shaking loose the old dust of unresolved emotions and calling us to clean house within. Many of us, especially as men, have learned to define strength as silence, pushing through, never complaining, holding it all together. But true strength, it's more than just endurance. It's the wisdom to recognize what you've been carrying, the courage to speak its name, and the grace to release or transform it. Can you look within right now and ask, what have I been silently carrying that no longer serves me? Let's not forget that the greatest transformations often come disguised as disruption. This is why Atlas doesn't just represent danger, it symbolizes awakening. It forces the question, are you still living from old patterns, old wounds, old fears, or have you begun to live from your truth? Because this is your moment to shift, and you're not alone in this. Across the world, countless souls are waking up to the inner call. The call to realign with faith, to reconnect with their divine identity, and to shed the emotional and spiritual dead weight that's been holding them back for years, maybe even lifetimes. This isn't just a personal invitation, it's collective. We are, right now, standing at a tipping point where humanity is being tested not just by physical events, but by a spiritual reckoning. And let's be honest, this test isn't about surviving a comet. It's about how we show up. It's about the choices we make in our everyday lives. Will we choose faith or fear? Will we respond with love or stay in the loop of bitterness? Will we awaken or will we fall asleep again? These are the questions that define not just this year, but the next chapter of human consciousness. Are you willing to make this personal? Because real change starts in your heart, in your home, in the thoughts you think and the words you speak every day. You may not realize it yet, but your past wasn't meant to imprison you. It was designed to prepare you. Your mistakes, your regrets, your heartbreaks, they were never meant to be shameful burdens, but stepping stones to deeper wisdom and greater compassion. What if the very thing you've been avoiding in your heart is the exact place God wants to bring His healing? What if that hidden fear, that childhood scar, that unspoken tension is the gateway to your greatest spiritual breakthrough? Psalm 20 verse 1 says, "May the Lord answer you in the day of trouble. May the name of the God of Jacob protect you." This is the assurance. You are not doing this alone. The divine is not just watching from above. He's walking with you into the hardest places of your soul, because that's where the light is needed most. The journey forward requires presence, but not just any presence, conscious presence. Many people are living half awake, going through the motions, distracted, numbed out, waiting for some sign. But here's the truth. Atlas is the sign. The planetary energies shifting right now, the spiritual restlessness you've been feeling, the unexpected disruptions, they're all signs. They're pointing you back home to yourself, to your inner alignment with the divine. The world doesn't need more fear. It doesn't need more escape. It needs people willing to be fully here, fully real, and fully surrendered. You have a choice, to live by default or by design. What will you choose? And this leads to the final, most important truth. Your inner transformation affects the collective. Every time you release an old wound, you lighten the energy of the whole. Every time you forgive, you shift the vibration of your family line. Every time you choose love over bitterness, hope over despair, you create a ripple that reaches further than you can see. And it matters. It deeply, deeply matters. Because while Atlas may be a cold traveler through the cosmos, you are a soul full of fire, created for connection, transformation, and purpose. The test of 2025 is not about astronomy. It's about alignment. It's not about the sky. It's about your spirit. Will you align with truth, with love, with God? Will you release what no longer serves you, so you can carry only what uplifts and empowers you? As the sacred words in 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 16 remind us, though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. This is the essence of this moment. So, what should you do right now? Start here. Pause, reflect, and return to yourself. Let the stillness speak. Ask yourself, what in me is ready to be healed? What truth have I ignored? What parts of me are asking to be seen, not judged, but understood? Then pray, journal, cry, forgive, meditate, walk in nature, speak truth. Let the divine meet you in the silence. You don't need to rush or fix it all overnight, but you do need to start. The comet is not the ending, it's the signal. The real transformation, that's happening in your soul. And the most powerful thing you can do is say yes to that process. The message is clear. This is your time to awaken, to clear out what no longer belongs, and to rise with clarity, strength, and peace. You're not here by accident. You're here because your soul was made for this moment. You were born for now. So take heart, hold faith, and step forward, not in fear, but in fullness. Number 2. Stoke the fire in your core. Now that you've begun to awaken what was hidden, to turn and face the past, not with shame but with strength, it's time for something deeper. It's time to stoke the fire in your core. This isn't a metaphor for ambition or surface-level motivation. This is about your inner flame, the center of who you are, the part of you that longs to stay close to what gives life, not what steals it. The question is, what draws you toward the light? For some, it's truth, the deep, unshakable knowing that there is something greater guiding everything. For others, it might be love, service, beauty, justice, or the simple act of showing up with integrity. Whatever your flame feeds on, get close to it, protect it, nourish it. Life has a way of burying our fire beneath disappointment, routine, and distraction. But this is your invitation to come alive again, to warm your spirit through practices that bring you back to center, prayer that reaches beyond the mind and into the heart, meditation that stills the noise of the world, honest conversations that peel back the masks, and small, often unnoticed acts of kindness that carry more power than we realize. Do you know what ignites your soul, or have you gone so long without it that you've forgotten what it feels like? The truth is, this fire doesn't need perfect conditions to burn. In fact, the brightest lights are often born in the deepest night. Your core begins to glow not when life is easy, but when you choose humility over ego, when you respond to hardship with compassion instead of bitterness, and when you speak truth, not to harm, but to heal. The more you live in alignment with what is real and right, the more your character becomes like a burning hearth, steady, warm, trustworthy. This is not about being perfect. It's about being lit from within. When you are lit from within, you don't need to shout. Your presence speaks. You don't need to convince others. Your life becomes the message. And just like a campfire draws people near on a cold night, your inner fire can become a source of comfort and clarity for those around you. So ask yourself, what have I been feeding my soul lately? Am I nurturing the fire of truth and love, or letting it fade under the weight of distractions and fear? Let me share something with you, a story you might not have heard in church, but one that echoes through every life that's been touched by grace. There was a man, broken by the weight of failure, ashamed of the mess he had made of his life. He didn't believe God could still use him. He barely believed in God at all. But one night, in a quiet moment when all the noise had finally stopped, he looked up and whispered, "God, if you're still there, I'm still here." And that one honest moment, that spark of surrender, was enough. Not because the man was strong, but because God never left. That night didn't end with thunder or miracles, but over time, the man began to change. He started showing up differently, praying from a place of truth instead of performance. He forgave people who didn't deserve it. He gave without needing credit. And slowly, his fire came back not from willpower, but from the warmth of knowing he was loved, even in the ruins. That's what God does. He doesn't wait for you to be perfect. He meets you right in the middle of your mess and kindles a flame that nothing in this world can put out. So as the world watches the heavens, as 3I divided by Atlas moves through space, and everyone wonders what's next, remember, the most important shift isn't out there, it's in here, inside you. We are living in a time when external chaos is pushing people inward, and that's not a curse, it's an opportunity. This is your moment to get clear about what matters most. The comet isn't asking you to panic. It's asking you to wake up, to get still, and to burn with the kind of light that comes from alignment with God. You don't need a platform, a title, or a perfect past to be a light. You just need willingness. Will you let God breathe on the embers of your spirit? Will you take the steps, however small, that bring you back to love, to truth, to yourself? It's not about the size of your fire. It's about its source. There's a verse that speaks powerfully to this moment. In the book of Romans chapter 12, verse 11, it says, "Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor, serving the Lord." That's what we're doing here. We're not just surviving, we're keeping the flame alive. And not for show, but for purpose. Every time you choose peace over panic, prayer over fear, generosity over selfishness, you're fanning the fire that will carry you through anything. Let that fire define your days, not the headlines, not the noise, not the fear. Because when the fire in your spirit is strong, no darkness outside can overcome it. And let's not forget, this fire is not just for you. The warmth you carry, the light you hold, it's meant to be shared. In your home, in your community, in the way you treat strangers and speak to loved ones, we're being called not just to survive a cosmic moment, but to become spiritual lighthouses in a time of fog. You don't need to be loud, you just need to burn steady. And you will find that when your life burns with real love, with faith that has been tested and refined, others will come to you not because you have answers, but because you carry peace. And peace is rare, but it is magnetic. So, what should you do right now? Begin by remembering the last time you felt truly alive. What were you doing? Who were you with? What values were present in that moment? Then ask, how can I bring more of that into my daily life? Don't wait for the world to change. Start changing your world from the inside out. Return to the practices that center you, spiritual disciplines that warm your soul, even on the coldest days. Light a candle, say a prayer, tell the truth, help someone without expecting anything back. That's how the fire grows, one honest act at a time. The message is this: in this season of cosmic signs and spiritual tests, the greatest preparation you can make is not external, it's internal. Stoke the fire of your soul. Feed it with truth, love, and faith. Keep it burning through prayer, humility, and service. You were not created to be lukewarm. You were created to shine. And when you live from that place of steady fire, you'll not only endure what's coming, you'll light the way for others too. Number 3. Live knowing your tale matters. Now that your memory is awake and your inner fire is burning, there's one more truth you need to carry as you walk through this time. Live knowing your tale matters. Not the tale of a comet, but the tale of your life, the path you leave behind, the ripple that follows every choice you make. It's easy to think legacy is just about big things, awards, titles, grand achievements carved in stone, but in reality, your legacy is shaped in the quiet spaces of your day-to-day life. It's formed in the way you speak to your children when you're tired, how you respond to stress when no one's around, the kindness you show to a stranger who can never repay you. These small acts are not small in the eyes of eternity. They are the trail you leave, the light or shadow that follows you long after the moment has passed. In this moment of cosmic attention, when 3i divided by Atlas sweeps across the sky and humanity wonders what it all means, there is another kind of attention upon us, the kind that sees not just the event, but the human heart. We are being watched, not with fear or judgment, but with sacred remembrance. Every action, no matter how quiet, leaves a vibration. Have you ever stopped to ask, what kind of ripple am I leaving in the world around me? The truth is, we don't always get to choose what people remember about us, but we do get to choose what we put into the world. And those choices accumulate, they matter, they live on. Just like a comet leaves a trail of dust and light, your life leaves a trail in the lives of those you touch. The energy you carry into a room, the words you speak when it's hard, the way you treat people who have nothing to offer you, all of it writes a story that the soul remembers, and that story is not forgotten. Scripture tells us in Galatians chapter 6 verse 9, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." You see, the things you're doing that feel unseen, they are seen. The love you've given that no one thanked you for, it counts. The restraint you've shown, the apologies you've made, the forgiveness you've offered, they are all part of your divine fingerprint on this earth. God doesn't measure legacy the way the world does. He measures it in faithfulness, in love, in truth, and in those quiet moments that reflect His heart. Think about the people who've left a mark on you. Chances are, it wasn't just their big accomplishments. You remember it was how they made you feel, how they stood firm when it was hard, how they kept loving even when it wasn't easy. And that's what 2025 is calling for. Not perfect people, but present people. Not flawless leaders, but faithful hearts. The world is hungry for authenticity, for real love, for people who walk their talk and live their truth, even when no one is clapping. And you have the power to be one of those people, not someday, but right now, in the choices you make today. When you choose truth over convenience, grace over judgment, peace over pride, you leave a trail that others can follow. And in a world full of noise and chaos, that kind of trail is sacred. There's a story in the Bible about a woman who poured out a costly jar of perfume onto Jesus' feet. She wasn't a leader or a scholar, just a woman moved by love. People mocked her for wasting something so valuable, but Jesus saw what others missed. He said in Matthew chapter 26 verse 13, "Truly I tell you, wherever this gospel is preached throughout the world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her." Do you see? One act of pure love, just one moment of surrender, became part of history, not because she was rich or perfect, but because her heart was aligned with truth. And the same is possible for you. You don't know how far your ripple will reach. You don't know how one act of courage might change someone's life. But God does. And that's why your tale matters, not just for the people around you, but for the story heaven is writing through your life. So, what should you do right now? Slow down. Look at your days, not just what you're doing, but how you're doing it. Ask yourself, what am I leaving behind in each moment? Are my actions reflecting the person I say I want to be? What story am I writing with the way I love, lead, and live? It's not too late to change course. It's never too late to start leaving a better trail. Start with what's in front of you, the way you handle a disagreement, the way you serve without recognition, the way you choose peace in conflict. These are the places where eternity meets your ordinary. And when you live that way, your life becomes a light not just for now, but for generations. Because the truth is, your life is not a closed circuit. It is a moving current, a story unfolding, a tale that stretches further than you'll ever see. And here's the lesson. Your legacy is not defined by one grand moment, but by the daily rhythm of living from love, walking in integrity, and choosing truth when it would be easier not to. This is your tale. This is your wake, and it matters more than you know. In a time when the heavens are speaking, let your life speak too. Let your choices reflect the fire you've lit and the healing you've embraced. Let them say to the world, not just that you were here, but that you lived awake, with purpose, and with God at your side. Number 4. Choose your response. Now that you've remembered what matters, stoked the fire within, and come to understand that your trail, your legacy, leaves a mark greater than you think, there's one more truth to carry close to your heart. You must choose your response. In this life, we don't get to control the signs that appear in the sky or the circumstances that show up on our path, but we do have absolute power over how we respond to them. Right now, as 3I divided by Atlas blazes through the heavens and the world watches with a mixture of wonder, curiosity, and quiet fear, the question is not just, what does it mean, but how will you respond? You see, spiritual maturity isn't about avoiding emotion. It's not about pretending you're not afraid or that you have everything figured out. It's about letting fear serve as a wake-up call, a teacher, not a prison. Let fear tell you where you're out of alignment, where your soul has been off course, where you've let false narratives or unhealed wounds guide your decisions. But then, let trust rise. Let trust remind you of what is still possible, even in uncertain times, because fear can alert you, but only trust can lead you forward. We are not just reacting to signs in the sky. We are shaping our world with every choice we make in response to those signs. The world may tempt you to divide into camps, ideologies, fear groups, or echo chambers. But you are being called to choose solidarity over division, to recognize that we are more connected than we've been led to believe. What happens to one affects all. You are being called to choose humility over pride, not pretending you have every answer, but being willing to listen, to learn, to admit where you've been wrong, and open yourself to change. You are being called to choose generosity over scarcity, especially in times when the world says, take care of yourself and forget the rest. Do you see how these moments are revealing what's inside us more than anything else? This is the test, not of survival, but of soul. It's not about external disasters, it's about internal alignment. So, ask yourself with bold honesty, how do I tend to respond when I'm under pressure? Do I withdraw into fear, anger, or self-preservation? Or do I choose to rise above it, to hold my center, and act from faith and love? You see, prophecy has never been a locked-in fate, it's always been a mirror, not of what must happen, but of what might happen based on how we act. Edgar Cayce, often called the sleeping prophet, gave us powerful insights not to scare us, but to wake us up. His visions were not predictions etched in stone, they were possibilities woven from spiritual law. And that law says this: we reap what we sow. It's not just about agriculture, it's about energy, intention, and action. If we respond to shaking with fear and division, then chaos increases. But if we respond with truth, compassion, and clarity, we invite healing into the moment. So prophecy isn't about doom, it's about decision. It hands the responsibility back to us and asks, what will you do with what you've been shown? One of the most powerful things Jesus ever taught wasn't through words, it was through the way he responded. When betrayed, he didn't retaliate. When mocked, he didn't curse. When the world turned dark, he still chose light. His strength wasn't in control, it was in surrender. But that surrender wasn't weakness, it was authority in its highest form. And he taught us something eternal. You may not control the storm, but you can choose how to walk through it. When fear knocks, will you crumble, or will you remember who walks beside you? When division calls, will you take sides, or will you stand in the middle as a bridge? When the world says panic, will you choose peace? These are not small questions. These are the questions that decide the direction of your life and the future of the world you're part of. There's a moment in the Old Testament when Joshua, the leader who took over after Moses, stood before the people and said these words, "Choose this day whom you will serve." That wasn't just about religion, it was about allegiance. Where would the people put their trust? In fear, idols, comfort, or in the living God? That question still echoes today. Who are you serving when you let fear run your decisions? Who are you aligning with when you gossip, blame, or lash out in judgment? This is not about guilt, it's about awareness. Because awareness is power, and power, in the hands of the humble, becomes light. Right now, you are being called to take back your response, not to react blindly to what's happening around you, but to respond with intention, with clarity, and with conviction. Are you responding from your highest self, or from old pain, from trust or from control, from alignment with your soul or from survival mode? The way we answer these questions doesn't just shape our personal path, it reshapes the collective frequency we live in. And whether or not you feel ready, the truth is your response carries weight. Like a tuning fork, it affects the people around you. Your energy ripples into your family, your community, your timeline. You might not be able to stop the comet from passing or the world from shaking, but you can be the calm in the center of the storm. You can be the voice that doesn't add to the noise. You can be the response that brings healing into the room. And here's the thing, choosing your response doesn't mean you never get scared, sad, or overwhelmed. It means you don't let those things define you. You feel them, but you don't follow them. You process them, but you don't become them. You come back to center. You come back to faith. Psalm 27 verse 3 says, "Though an army encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war rise against me, yet I will be confident." That confidence isn't arrogance, it's alignment. It's the deep, soul-rooted knowing that you are not alone in this, that no matter how dark it gets, God is still here, still speaking, still guiding. And if He is with you, what can truly shake you? So what should you do right now? Step back, take a breath, reflect deeply on the energy you've been giving to your life. Are your thoughts feeding fear or trust? Are your words building others up or tearing things down? Are your actions healing or harming? Then decide. Choose your response. And choose it not from panic, but from prayer. Not from confusion, but from clarity. Not from reaction, but from revelation. You are more powerful than you know, not because of ego, but because of the spirit within you. Let your response reflect that truth. Choose love. Choose truth. Choose to live like your life is part of something much greater, because it island. And here's the message. In this final test, it's not just what happens in the world that matters, it's what happens in you. Your response is your responsibility. Choose it wisely. Choose it with love. And you will not only survive the shaking, you will become one of those rare, radiant souls who helps light the way for others. You're still here for a reason, and that reason might be bigger than you think. If you feel the shift coming, comment "Awakened for Truth" to declare your readiness for what 2025 may bring. The most important part is still ahead, so don't miss what could be the wake-up call your soul's been waiting for. Number 5. Live with hopeful readiness. After learning to awaken your inner courage, tend your sacred fire, leave a meaningful trail, and choose your response with wisdom and faith, now comes a final but essential call for the time we are living in. Live with hopeful readiness. This doesn't mean becoming naive, reckless, or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It doesn't mean escaping into fantasies or waiting passively for someone else to fix the world. Hopeful readiness is a sacred posture. It's the powerful stance of someone who is fully awake to the reality of what's happening, but who also refuses to surrender to despair. To live this way is to hold space for both truth and trust, to let realism and faith walk hand in hand, even when the road ahead is uncertain. Can you hold the tension between knowing we can't control everything and still believing your actions matter deeply? Because that's the work now, not just spiritual talk or emotional survival, but faithful living, heart first and eyes wide open, in a world that is rapidly shifting. Hopeful readiness begins with acceptance. We don't know what tomorrow holds. The earth is shaking in ways we can feel, and the sky is speaking in ways we can't always explain. Forces are at play, cosmic, environmental, political, spiritual, that are larger than any one person or nation. 3I divided by Atlas isn't just a comet, it's a wake-up call. But even as we acknowledge the enormity of what we're facing, we don't shrink back, we rise. Why? because while we don't control the forces outside us, we are absolutely responsible for what we cultivate inside us. Readiness, in this context, is not about stockpiling supplies or fearing the worst. It's about preparing your soul, strengthening your spirit, clearing the noise from your heart so that you can hear clearly, live deeply, and love freely, no matter what comes. Are you living with that kind of readiness? Are your eyes open to the truth without being overwhelmed by it? Is your heart still soft enough to respond with compassion? Are your hands willing to do what needs to be done? The future isn't something that just happens to us, it's something we participate in. That's the beautiful paradox of this moment. While so much is unknown, so much is also up to us. We shape the world every day through our choices, through the energy we bring into our homes, our communities, our conversations, our prayers. Hopeful readiness means showing up today as if the future depends on it, because it does. It means asking yourself, what am I planting right now? Not just in the outer world, but in the soil of your own soul. Seeds of bitterness, fear, and cynicism will only grow more of the same. But if you plant love, clarity, service, and truth, then you participate in building a world worth stepping into. Let this sink in deeply. You are not a bystander in the story of Earth, you are a co-author. And God has given you the pen, not so you can write the perfect ending, but so you can write faithfully, page by page, with courage and conviction. And while we're talking about readiness, let's be honest, it's easy to slip into extremes. Some people live with denial, avoiding reality, pretending things aren't changing. Others live in paranoia, preparing only for destruction, expecting the worst from everyone and everything. But true spiritual maturity is found in the balance. As it says in the letter to the Ephesians, be alert and always keep on praying, which is not a call to panic, but a call to presence. Hopeful readiness doesn't cling to false peace, and it doesn't bow to fear. It walks in wisdom, alert yet unafraid. And that's what you're being asked to do right now. Not to run, not to freeze, but to stand strong in the middle of uncertainty with a heart fully engaged, a mind deeply grounded, and hands willing to serve. There's a quiet power in those who choose hope when the world offers none. People often mistake hope for wishful thinking, but real hope, the kind that transforms lives, is forged in fire. It's born when someone sees all the brokenness and still believes in healing. It's built when someone sees division, but keeps working toward unity. Hope grows every time you say yes to truth, even when it costs you. Hope is when you forgive someone who doesn't deserve it, when you love without needing to be loved back, when you do the right thing, even when no one's looking. That's what hopeful readiness looks like. It's a deep, soul-level commitment to keep showing up, to keep shining, to keep believing. Not because it's easy, but because it's sacred. Hope, when it's rooted in God, becomes an anchor for the soul. Hebrews chapter 6 verse 19 says, "We have this hope as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure." And when everything around you starts to shake, it's that kind of hope that will keep you grounded. So what does this mean for 2025 and beyond? It means that as the skies continue to shift and the earth continues to move, you must anchor yourself not in headlines or rumors, but in truth. You must stay open not to every theory or fear, but to the still, small voice that speaks in peace. You must keep your heart soft, not so it breaks, but so it can feel. You must keep your hands willing not to control the outcome, but to serve the moment. There is no map for where we're going, but there is a guide, and that guide lives within you. The Holy Spirit doesn't just point the way, He is the way, showing up in your conscience, your convictions, your clarity. The more you trust that presence, the more you'll be ready for whatever comes, because you won't just be reacting, you'll be responding with divine wisdom. So ask yourself now, what does it mean to live ready not in fear, but in faith? What parts of your life need to be surrendered, simplified, or strengthened to meet this moment? Who do you need to forgive? What truth have you avoided? What good thing have you delayed, waiting for a better time? Because the truth is, this is the time. You were born for now, not for later, not for another generation, but for this year, this age, this final test. And while the world is waiting to see what will happen next, heaven is watching to see how you will respond, not with judgment but with hope. God is not pacing nervously. He is inviting you to rise. He's reminding you that your readiness is not in knowing everything, it's in trusting the one who does. And here is the message. To live with hopeful readiness is to stand in the tension between uncertainty and purpose. To live not with fear of the future, but faith for it. It's to walk through 2025 not blind, but bold, not anxious, but awake. Your readiness is your light. Your hope is your anchor. And your presence in this moment matters more than you think. So stay grounded, stay faithful, and above all, stay ready. By watching this far, you're proving you're not just curious, you're being called. Comment, prepared for the test, if you believe we were meant to face this moment together. Keep watching until the very end, because the steps we take now could change everything. Daily Prayer for Awakening in 2025. Heavenly Father, Creator of all light and life, in this one breath, I pause to listen, to remember, and to return. Because every pause is a doorway back to your presence, and every breath is a reminder that I am held. Thank you for the gift of life beating steadily within me, for the chance to wake each day in a world that is shifting and stretching toward renewal, and for the assurance that I am not a passive passenger to circumstance, but, by your grace, a co-creator who moves with you. Therefore, I say yes to your call to live with love, with truth, and with faithful integrity, and I ask that this yes echo through my thoughts, my words, and my actions, so that what I believe and what I do walk in step. Lord, awaken my memory with courage, because honest memory is the first step to real healing. You see the wounds I have buried, the regrets I have tried to quiet, and the fears I have hoped would fade on their own. And yet, you meet me not with shame but with strength. Shine your warm light into every unvisited corner of my heart and mind, that the stories I avoid can be rewritten in your mercy. Teach me to name what hurts without letting it name me, to feel what is hard without letting it harden me, and to accept responsibility without sinking into self-condemnation. As truth comes into focus, let it set me free from the small cages of denial and resentment, replacing them with clarity, forgiveness, and wise boundaries that keep love moving. Lord, reignite the fire within me and protect the flame of my soul in a restless, noisy age, because what I feed grows and what I starve fades. Draw me again to what gives life rather than what drains it, to practices that steady me: quiet prayer, sincere gratitude, soulful rest, and service to others, so that my inner life has roots deep enough to hold in stormy weather. Help me remember what stirs my spirit, truth that aligns my choices, love that dignifies the people I meet, justice that defends the vulnerable, and kindness that keeps my heart soft. Even when the night feels cold, keep my core burning with compassion and integrity. I do not ask for perfection, only for a real life lit by your light, because authenticity carries farther than polish, and a faithful heart speaks louder than flawless plans. Lord, remind me that my trail matters, for like a comet tracing the sky, my life leaves a wake behind that others will feel. Therefore, let my legacy be love rather than fear, and let my daily choices create healing rather than harm. Place a guard on my lips so that my speech builds rather than breaks. Teach me to forgive quickly, because I am constantly forgiven, and move me to love in ways that echo beyond the moment, through small courtesies that calm the room. through generous listening that eases loneliness, through encouragement that strengthens a tired soul, so that every word, every gesture, and every act of kindness becomes a seed. You can grow into good fruit in due time. Lord, help me choose my response wisely when I cannot control the winds around me, because while I do not decide everything that happens, I do decide how I show up within it. Train my instincts to lean toward faith rather than fear, peace rather than panic, humility rather than pride, and patience rather than hurry, so that my presence becomes a quiet shelter where others can breathe again. Let my energy bring healing instead of adding more noise, and when emotions surge, help me pause, pray, and proceed with clarity, remembering that gentleness is not weakness but strength under guidance, and that courage is not the absence of fear, but movement aligned with purpose. Lord, fill me with hopeful readiness, not a blind hope that ignores reality, but a steady, grounded faith that faces reality with you. I do not know what tomorrow holds, yet I know you hold me. Help me prepare not with panic, but with presence, doing the next faithful thing before me. Clear my heart of distractions that scatter my focus, anchor me in what is real and eternal, and strengthen me to serve, to love, and to keep showing up, especially when it is hard, because perseverance shapes character, and character makes room for joy. Teach me to order my days with wisdom, to rest before I am empty, to ask for help before I am overwhelmed, and to celebrate small progress so that gratitude stays near. When uncertainty rises, remind me that trust grows through practice, that communities are healed by consistent care, and that hope is a muscle I can train by choosing it again today. Therefore, today, I choose to live awake in this unfolding year of 2025, to remember what matters and return to it again and again, to burn bright without burning out by drawing near to your steady flame, to leave a trail of love that others can follow when the path is dim, and to respond with grace in places that expect outrage. I choose to stay ready not only for what may be coming, but, more importantly, for what matters now, because this present moment is where your kingdom plants its seeds. I believe I was born for such a time as this, not to outshine others, but to outlove fear. And if the heavens are speaking, I will answer, not with fear, but with faith that acts, not by hiding, but by healing what I can, not with worry, but with worship that recenters my heart. So, Father, take my ordinary day and make it a place of meeting. Take my weaknesses and turn them into doors for your strength. Take my plans and align them with your wisdom. And as I step forward, let my life quietly say Amen long before my lips do, for your glory and the good of all you love. Amen. Thank you for staying with us until the end. Your time and presence here mean more than you know. In a world full of noise, the fact that you chose to reflect, to listen, and to seek truth, that's a sacred act. As we stand at the threshold of 2025, may we remember, the final test isn't about the comet, it's about the condition of the human heart. Atlas doesn't force fate, it reflects our frequency. And you have the power to choose how you respond, with fear or with faith, with resignation or with hope, with silence or with awakened love. If this message touched something deep within you, please like, share, and subscribe to The Journey of Wisdom. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the powerful teachings and reflections we'll be sharing in the weeks ahead. Until next time, stay present, stay faithful, and keep walking in wisdom. The sky may be speaking, but it's your soul that must answer.